Hey, what's up guys, Tech here, and I'm back again with a brand new video. And before I begin, I want to thank you all so much for watching. But with that being said, this is the most basic phone that you can get. And this is the TCL K32. And basically the story behind this phone is make it as cheap as possible, so it does start at 120 bucks. And for that price, sacrifices had to be made. And one of the first sacrifices is within the materials that they decided to use. Now I do have to give them credit because the design itself, from the way that it looks, it doesn't look too shabby. I mean, it actually looks a little bit more expensive than a $120 phone. And there's slight attention to detail, which I will share with you here in a little bit. But essentially the material had to be plastic all the way around, from the back of the phone to the camera housing to the rails of the phone. Nothing about this phone is going to scream premium. It has the soft touch to it, so it doesn't really, so it's very slippery, but it doesn't really catch fingerprints like crazy. And it's fine. It's not the end of the world. Now, another area where you'll immediately be able to tell that they kind of give it a little bit of attention to detail is within the rails of the phone itself. So if you look on the side, it does have this kind of shaved metal, but it's actually plastic. So nice attention to detail. They shouldn't, that was a little bit extra, but it's there. On the right hand side, you do get your power button that does also double as a fingerprint sensor, and the volume up and down. Again, they're not really the best and highest quality buttons, but they work. On the bottom, you get your basic ports, such as your headphone jack, your microphone, USB-C, and the loudspeaker up at the bottom. And the speaker is okay. Now, as far as the USB-C, there's no crazy fast charging capability or anything like that, but it works. On the back of the phone itself, you get this dual camera setup, or what they call hybrid camera. Basically, it's a low resolution 13 megapixel camera, but we'll have a conversation about it in the camera segment. So next up is this display. So this is another category where they've made some major sacrifices. Now, okay, I don't want to be too dramatic, but it is a 6.7-inch display. It's only 720p, so not even a full HD display. But the Moto G from Motorola is a $200 phone and only has a 720p display. So now it may not be the highest resolution display. It doesn't get crazy bright outdoors. However, it works for someone who just wants a phone. I mean, for 120 bucks, I don't really have a lot to complain about here. It's a decent IPS panel, and it does in fact support a 90 Hz refresh rate, which I would have been fine with a 60 Hz display if it was a 1080p coming from a $120 phone. Now, watching videos, going through your basic tasks, and doing just the basic things on this phone will be fine. And overall, I mean, for a display at this price point, you'll be fine. Because I'm assuming when you buy a $120 phone, you're not expecting the craziest things about this display. So it gets a pass from me regardless. Another category where they've made another big sacrifice is within the performance, and the specs back it up. So basically, this phone does have starting storage at 64 gigabytes, which I thought smartphones have killed that, but yeah, so this phone starts at 64 gigs of storage. It only has 4 gigabytes of RAM. Technically, you can use a little bit of the storage to boost your RAM to up to 8 gigabytes of RAM. And also, it does have the Qualcomm Snapdragon 4 Gen 2 processor. So yeah, not too powerful specs. I would say the biggest spec here is literally the battery, which is a 5010 milliamp hour battery, and the battery life on this phone is actually really good considering the fact that it does have a low resolution display. Okay, so when it comes to your normal tasks like opening up the phone app, opening up the messaging app, it's not the fastest, but it's also not the slowest that I've seen. It works fine. And if you try to push this phone beyond that, where you kind of want to game or do anything more graphic heavy demand, it's not going to function well. I can tell you right now, it crashed on multiple occasions. And it actually does have this two apps on their UI. So one is to optimize the RAM, so you can click that button to clear up as much RAM as you can. And the other one is what they call sort of optimize manager, that shows you how much RAM you have, whether you want to turn on RAM boost or not, which essentially, if you only have 64 gig of storage, be very mindful. If you take pictures, if you store documents on this phone, you're going to fill that up quicker than you think. So keep that in mind. So now I want to speak on this hybrid camera. So it's a 13 megapixel main sensor, and it does have a LED flash, and the story is, again, another sacrifice had to be made within the camera system. We see that a lot of phones have a 50 megapixel resolution, but this is just all that they can come up with. And actually, when it comes to taking pictures, it does take a second to process it, but when it does process it, it's not too shabby. So under good lighting conditions, it will produce some usable pictures. So it's not quite potato quality, so they're definitely useful pictures if you want to take pictures of documents. But anything beyond good lighting, this phone is just not going to do it. So indoor photography was not really all that good. And it does shoot okay video. Now, my conclusion to you is this. Again, this is a phone meant for a certain demographic, and that's for the people that basically, let's say you, for example, you have an expensive phone that you broke and you filed an insurance claim through your carrier, and while waiting for the insurance claim, you still need a phone, then this is it. Not too shabby option for 120 bucks. And I'm sure that a lot of carriers will have this for even cheaper. So keep that in mind and check your carrier, I guess. But from a user perspective, I used it for a few hours. It pissed me off a little bit at times just because of how many times it crashed, but it worked. It's a smartphone and it worked. It has a lot of sacrifices, but that is to be expected for the price point that you're paying for this phone. With that being said, I want to hear your guys' comments below. Let me know how you feel about this phone, or do you think that this phone has another certain demographic, or would this be something that you're interested in? Let me know in the comments below, and I will definitely catch you guys in the next one. Thank you for watching.